This is Live and Local at noon. Here is Michaela Madison.
Friends and family of a woman shot and killed last week in Canton Township are calling for justice and demanding change within the legal system. Well, good Thursday afternoon. We have mostly cloudy skies out there today. Temperatures right now in the mid-40s, a high this afternoon of 50 degrees. And the funeral for Zelka Sekulik is being held today with her burial later this evening. Now, she was killed. We told you about this story last week as she was leaving Astoria Nursing and Rehabilitative Facility after working an overnight midnight shift. Her ex-husband, Dragan Sekulik, is charged with her murder. Now, those who loved her are pushing for a change within the criminal justice system to better protect victims of domestic violence. A memorial was held yesterday at Myers Lake Ballroom where members of her family, her friends, and those she worked with at Astoria came together and spoke fondly of Zelka and talked about how they're fighting for justice. And joining me today is Rob Foster, one of Zelka's best friends and coworkers, as well as Diane Triplett, whose brother was actually married to Zelka's sister. And my first question for both of you is really just to help us get to know Zelka a little bit more. Tell us about who she was. I know I've only heard great things from every interview that I've had, that she was a really good person. So I want to get that in your words to tell me a little bit about who she was.
She was just one of those type of people that is always good to have somebody like that in your life because she was positive. She was smart, ambitious. She knew a lot about everything. She's a great coworker. She's really hardworking, always willing to lend a hand. Like when people ask me about how do I describe her, she was an adult with childlike purity, if that makes any kind of sense.
And we know that she has two young girls, two little girls that unfortunately are, going through, I can only imagine what they're going through right now. But I've also heard a lot about how great of a mother that she was and how much she cared and how much she talked about those two girls.
She is really proud. She was really involved. I think one of them plays the flute. She would always go to her concerts and she would send me pictures, and she was just really proud. She was a great nurse. I mean, we worked at multiple different places together, and there was never anybody who had a problem working with Z, after Z, before Z. Patients all liked her. Nobody ever had a problem with her at all that I've ever come into contact with.
And now, I know this is going to be a difficult conversation. I know today is a difficult day, as the last week has been. Today, you guys are coming together for Z's funeral and to remember her and to say goodbye, unfortunately. Is there anything you want to say about, just in general, about the loss, about how it has impacted your lives, as I know it's been pretty serious?
This last week has been probably the most nauseating, disgusting, just unpleasant week that I've ever had in my entire life. Just so many reasons why. One is because she was a really good person, and she lived a really good life. And for someone who is a person like that, who's a pretty model individual, to die in a brutal, agonizing, lonely, scary fashion the way she did is just completely and absolutely ridiculous and wrong. We all loved her. I mean, I don't think there was one person except for him who had a problem with her, and we all feel robbed. It's just bad. Like, you were at the vigil yesterday, and I mean, like it's not one of those funerals where you celebrate a homegoing. It's one of those funerals where it's cloudy, dreary, angry, sad, rage, and one of those funerals where you just question and ask why. I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm asking why. Like I can't wrap my fingers around how anybody, for one, could do that to somebody, period. But for someone to do something like that to someone like her, to me, is just absolutely absurd. It boggles my mind. I don't understand it. And I think every single person who is in attendance at the funeral, at the vigil, anybody who follows the stories, reads about it, learns the history and background information on Z, no person in their right mind would be able to understand why that took place.
One thing that really stood out to me during the vigil was when the pastor was speaking, and he made a comment that, because everybody wants to know why. Everybody wants to try to make sense of this scenario, and I think that happens in any incident like this. trying to understand it. And he said those who can make sense of this scenario, of this tragedy, are filled with as much evil as the person that caused it. And I think that is so critical to understand that it's normal that you guys don't get it. I don't get it. And as you said, anyone in their right mind, it just is unbelievable. Now, I know that there has been a lot of frustration with the legal system through all of this. We do, of course, have to say that her ex-husband, Dragan Sekulic, has not been convicted yet. He's facing aggravated murder charges. I know the case is going before the grand jury. They'll make a decision on whether or not there's enough evidence in order to hold a trial, and we'll follow that process as well. But I have to ask you both, because during the interviews that I've had, both at the memorial, beforehand, I keep hearing the same thing over and over again, and that is a call for justice. And I hear it again and again and again. And so I want just some clarification here. When you say justice, are you meaning just a conviction to see Dragan Sekulic be convicted of Zelka's murder? Or are you looking to dive even deeper and maybe call for change within a possibly flawed legal system? That's the question I want you both to answer. Coming up after the break, though, I want to get back into this interview during our next interview segment, coming up at 12:42 here on Live and Local at noon. So think about that question. Think about what you want to say. We want to get some ideas about what your plans are, if you are looking to go bigger, what you plan to do to initiate possible change and bring more awareness to this. So, again, we'll finish up talking with both of you coming up here at 12:42 right here on News Talk 1480 WHBC.
Canton's News Hour, live from the studios of WHBC. Live and local at noon on News Talk 1480 WHBC.